welcome to the network. Welcome to the Two Dads edition. Wait,
that's not it.
Start again.
Two Dads, Gen X edition.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining us today.
What's up?
James.
Yes, Dawson.
So you've been divorced twice.
Yeah, I know.
How did you get out of that? How did you get out of that mindset of I failed? You actually got teary-eyed right there. You really got teary-eyed, guys.
It's my motivation when I act. Yeah. How did I get out of the mindset? Well, I'm still working on it.
No, that's true.
But it's a recognition of what is rather than thinking that everything's my fault.
Yeah.
So first divorce was not my choice, although at this point I'm not upset about it. Is that a nice way to say that?
Later.
It's been a while. Yeah, 11 years now, almost 11 years.
Yeah.
Wow, almost 11 years.
For the first.
From the first, yeah. Yeah. No, but I mean, one of the things, because I was afraid of failing, and not afraid of failing, but I was trying to save it, and even like after she asked for the divorce, and she would like go out and start dating and stuff like that, I was still I was still trying to convince her to stick with the marriage.
Yeah.
Even though she was dating. She wasn't dating, but when you're out until 2:00 in the morning, because we were, still living in the same house. And so I was there to watch the kids and she was out doing her thing.
It's dating.
Yeah. But I was still in that mindset because the idea of like the marriage failing was something that, culturally, religiously, personally, my examples and stuff have always been, you work through everything.
Yeah. Well, that goes down to the baby boomer, Gen X. You'd fight for what you love and want.
Yeah, more baby boomer than Gen X, I think. But
yeah. So what I want to talk about is kind of the upside of failure, and then kind of like rising from the ashes and kind of learning from it and how to do that.
There's a lot of ashes.
You need a shop vac for those ashes.
You need a big shop vac. I got a rigid in my garage that might be enough for now.
For today. For today's ashes.
Today's ashes, yeah. No, but I mean the thing is like it's yeah, it felt like a failure. I mean, I had full custody of my kids. Unfortunately, it was appropriate for me to have full custody of my kids. And I'm grateful that I did. But the upside, rising from the ashes, that kind of idea, it was it took a while to be able to do that.
Yeah.
And that actually is part of what played into the second divorce, which was, things were going in the wrong direction. And in spite of trying to communicate through it, they weren't resolving, they weren't improving, they weren't getting better. And I was not going to go back into that mental space that I was towards the end of the first marriage, which is what I told my second wife is, if this is, I'm not going to do this. If things aren't getting better, if we're not improving things, then I'd rather be single than miserable. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think we should need to break it down into 3 kind of topics.
Yeah.
Like that radical self-awareness and kind of mirroring what you see and kind of understanding where you came from. Mm-hmm. The brain on failure. And why the brain works and how it actually does that. The medical side of it, I guess. And then kind of building your resilience muscle, getting stronger to recognize when something's failing, and you're able to see it sooner so you can be proactive instead of retroactive.
Yeah. Yeah. And, so with that first idea of that radical self-awareness, as a therapist, that's something that I promote.
Yeah.
But I also try and live by that too. I try and be like, even as a father, whenever my kids thought I did something wrong, I wanted them to tell me so that I could analyze myself. Is that fair? Is that accurate? And what do I need to change if there's something that I need to change? And I try to do that in both marriages too. But that self-awareness, we don't grow, we don't learn, we don't get stronger, we don't overcome things if we're not aware of our own failure, our own strengths, and our own weaknesses, right?
Yeah, I think that's one thing I learned just in therapy with marriage counseling is if you don't recognize what you're doing wrong, you're just going to repeat that same problem in the next relationship and the next one and the next one.
Yeah. Until
you just either give up or you actually learn from it.
Oh, we're moving on from the giving up part. Okay.
You haven't given up. We've seen over a year that you've actually grown and been more open to things and stuff like that. So
yeah, no, I was actually talking to a coworker about how, I think I made the mistake of thinking that, or waiting for a partner that would support the goals and we'd work together towards the goals before pursuing the goals.
Yeah.
I'm not doing that anymore. I'm pursuing my goals.
Well, and I think that's kind of the beauty of when you find someone, you're trying to support each other's goals.
Right.
And they line up and you get to the point where you're building that life together to where they feel fulfilled and you feel fulfilled at the same time, and doing that together with that support, then it just creates that huge, strong family unit kind of thing.
Well, but that goes to that self-awareness thing. So like, for example, in my first marriage, one of the things that happened, I went bankrupt in 2007 before I joined the military for medical needs. There was in a year, there was like all my kids and, my youngest was born and my wife at the time had a hysterectomy and there's bed rest before the birth and then all this other recovery stuff. And so there's a lot that went on that all of a sudden I needed to make like $120,000. I had like $600 in the bank and one commission because I was working a seasonal commission job.
Yeah.
And nothing on the horizons. And it's like, well, screw it. There's no other option really. But in that self-aware, or one of the experiences that we had was before the bankruptcy, I thought about starting a franchise. Subway at the time, it was like a $7,000 franchise fee.
Yeah, eat fresh, baby.
I know, right? But it was like one of the easiest franchises to get into, and so the idea was, hey, we could start a business and create income for ourselves instead of relying on all this other stuff.
Like that. Well, I actually hear opening a Smalley daycare is actually the easiest now,
and you could be a millionaire.
Yeah.
So she said absolutely not, because we didn't have insurance for the family. Our income wasn't guaranteed or anything like that. And so she said, if we have, if we need insurance for the family and we need to make sure that our bills are paid no matter what.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, cool.
Not gonna do that.
When I got out of the military, medically retired. So I had insurance for my family, all my kids until they're 21. And then for her and I, when we were married anyway, until we died through TRICARE. And so it like dawned on me, because this is years later, I was like, hey, I can start a franchise. And she was like, nope, absolutely not. I was like, but you said this is, we need to make sure bills are paid and that we had insurance for the family. I've satisfied now what your requirements were for me to be able to go and fulfill this dream.
Checking all the boxes.
And she shut it down. And so that idea of like not having that supportive partner, it didn't matter. It didn't matter what I actually did. It was just, nope, it's not what she didn't want it. So we didn't do it, kind of thing. And so I was waiting for that piece of the puzzle.
Yeah.
But for a long time, I thought that it was my failure, my fault. And that's where now it's like, no, I'm not doing that.
So you thought it was more like your fault because even though you checked all the boxes and all her criteria to be able to start chasing your dream or do what you wanted to do. So you're like, crap, what did I do wrong to her? She wouldn't allow me to do that. And when it really wasn't
she
you,
wasn't
it was
supportive
her.
when she said she would be. And then she asked for the divorce. And it's like, oh, that's even more failure.
Yeah.
And then the chaos of that. And
well, I kind of like to call that the frog in the boiling pot syndrome.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of times in your early on in a marriage, if people realize, oh, this isn't going to work, we don't have the same alignment. Ideally, you want to figure that out before you get married. But sometimes
pre-marriage counseling is an awesome thing if you do it.
Sometimes family kind of feed in like, oh, this person's great, you should do this. What are you thinking? Why? Or you could have friends that are throwing things in your head and stuff like that. And when I look at my first marriage, it kind of was like a whole cascade of failures, that from the job that I had to lack of communication, lack of support, both from both of us, and then kind of like the financial struggles of hiding things and lying and trying to get out of debt and kind of stuff to make our lives better. With each failure, people have two options: either become a victim of it or learn from it and grow from it. And it's really easy to play the victim. It's like, oh, F that, F this, they did this, that's why this failed. And it really took me to do radical truth and radical awareness to take a step back and go, okay, what did I do? How did I fail? and I don't like to use the word fail, and I actually learned that from you, is it's not a failure. It's just it didn't go the way you planned. And sometimes failure isn't really failing. It's just things didn't align the way you want. There's people that have they've gone bankrupt countless times, and they keep trying, and then it finally sticks. And if you don't learn from those failures, then you're not going to ever grow, and you're just basically rinse, repeat.
And that's really the key to it. It's, when we think of failure, we associate failure with the person and that they're a failure. No, the attempt failed.
Yeah.
The, the marriage failed, right? But the business failed, or this idea failed, or I failed at, fixing the car, something like that, right?
Yeah.
The thing failed. We're not a failure. We're only a failure. It's kind of like that saying of like, you've only failed if you stop trying, right?
Yeah.
You're not going to make it if you stop trying. You're guaranteed a no if you don't ask, kind of thing.
Right.
And so like with, it wasn't until in my second marriage that radical kind of, that radical self-awareness really kicked in, which is why I got to that point where it's like, if we can't resolve these things, I'm not going to stay. Because I couldn't be in that situation anymore. And I don't hate her or anything like that. I'm not mad at her. I'm the one that chose it, but that's where that.
Well, yeah. And I think that's same thing for me. If I didn't take that time to sit down and, I made a list of the things what I thought went wrong with our relationship, where I went wrong, where she went wrong. And I can't tell her what she did wrong. She has to do that for herself. But I went back.
You can. She's just not going to listen.
Well, it's not my place, And so a lot of it is when you make that list of, I could have communicated better, or, we did fine with the finances, but we didn't sit down every week and talk about the bills and the budget every month and kind of our goals. We never had that kind of stuff. It was just winging it all the time.
Yeah.
And the solution was just make more money, and then they'll slowly go away. No, you just spend more money, kind of thing, if you don't have goals.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until my second long-term relationship, that I recognized a lot of what I was doing to her, she was doing to me. And it really was like eye-opening. It's like, oh my God, I was stifling, I was projecting, I was redirecting, I was deflecting, and that's all kind of mean the same thing. And so it wasn't until I saw that being done to me, my failures in the first marriage that she was doing to me, that I really realized, man, I really need to fucking get things better.
Right.
And if it wasn't for the fact that I took the time to understand that and took those moments to, okay, I need to learn to communicate better. I need to learn to, when you did this, it made me feel this way. Could we try this instead, kind of stuff, the healthy communication that we had an episode on last year. And as I learned to be better at that and communicate what I need versus what I want.
Yeah.
That's where that part of it got a lot better down the road, kind of stuff.
Well, that's where a lot of people, when they, a lot of people think then when they first get divorced that it's their ex's fault and their ex is the problem and they did everything right, which is normal, but it's not accurate. There is no 100% one person's fault. Yeah. And so when they get into the next relationship, it's like, oh, see, I'm going to find somebody so much better than you. And they get into the next relationship, and then that starts falling apart too.
The exact same way.
Yeah, pretty much, because the problem isn't them, the problem is us in combination with, right? But like you were saying, the way that you were interacting in the marriage, that then in the next relationship you recognized your patterns too. That's that awareness that precedes the growth and the development and the improvement, the self-improvement. Yeah. That's the part that so many people lack.
And it's hard. I mean, it's really hard to look at yourself and say, you suck at this. You need to get better. And if you don't take the time to learn to get better, you're never going to get better. It's not going to get well, and you're not going to have the same situation, rinse, repeat. And so a lot of times, like when I was, people I was dating for a while there, I noticed I was finding the same type of people. Mm-hmm. And that's where therapy came in, where I'm like, hey, look, this is my pattern.
Yeah.
This is what I like. This is what I'm attracted to. But I also doubt a lot of things, because there's a lot of part in my life before I met Sydney that I doubted that I deserved someone like her.
I know you did.
And it wasn't until I embraced my failures and actually looked at what I could have done better that's when I learned that, one, I do deserve someone like her, and two, she deserves someone like me that has learned from his mistakes, wants to be better, wants to grow, and always do that.
Yeah.
Where before I'd get hurt and get self-defended.
Well, it's interesting too, because there's that, that trend of like, there are younger women that are going for older guys because the guys their age are still too immature. They're not serious. They're not secure. They're not, all that stuff. And so there's a lot of women who, whether it's late 20s, mid 30s, that are looking for late 30s, early 40s guys, because those guys are more established. They have life experience, and they're in that position, a lot of us, where it's like, we have taken the time to reflect. We have taken that time to, we've recognized that we need to stop just performing.
Yeah.
Because it's disingenuous.
Yeah.
Meeting the expectation of, whether it's our religious perspective or society's expectations, and we're supposed to be this guy rather than be genuine to who we are.
Yeah.
And so a lot of guys our age now and older are stepping back and saying, hold on, I need to be me.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where I am now is I'm working on myself, and I'd love to have somebody join me in life, not like they need to be what I want.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to change myself because they think I should be something different. I want somebody who appreciates me, and then I appreciate who they are. Yeah. That's why I'm a little bit jealous of your relationship.
Well, hey guys, if you like our podcast or our content, hit that like and subscribe. We really like to hit that little bell. Bell. Don't hit bell, hit bell.
Get the notifications of each podcast that comes out every Tuesday. But
So let's go into the brain on failure and how it actually works, the science of it.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's like, there's this pattern. When we have a failure, when we feel like we failed at something, it reinforces the previous time, right? So when we have a failure, and a lot of it is about how we feel, it's our interpretation. So it's this error-related negativity where our dopamine will drop, right? And dopamine is the reward thing that we want.
Yeah.
So the dopamine drops, cortisol, the stress hormone, spikes, and then the brain actually treats really bad failure like a physical injury. So it almost becomes traumatic in a way, not trauma, because I think people throw that word around way too much.
Yeah.
But, it's like, oh, it's my trauma. Small t trauma, maybe. Not capital T trauma.
It's like a little baby carrot.
It's like, yes, disappointing. It hurt. Absolutely. Yeah. And small t traumas over time, if you're having them repeated, you can have cumulative PTSD, where it's like you see an incident in and of itself is not super serious, but the culmination, that's where like first responders and veterans and stuff like that, they develop PTSD sometimes because of the constant exposure, not necessarily the one, right? But the brain treats emotional injury as if it's a physical injury oftentimes. And so the amygdala signals that fear and danger the next time we run into a situation where it's like, I feel like I'm failing, or, and we've talked about this with relationships where something triggers this fear response of, oh no, this is this situation again, and I've always been in this situation. Why can't I find? And it becomes this loop that is almost like an addiction.
Yeah.
Not the kind of addiction where it's like, ooh, it's fun, it feels good, but the addiction of like
self-imploding,
victimization, that kind of stuff. Victimhood can become an addiction.
Yeah, which we have definitely seen a lot of in America.
Absolutely. And so that's one of the things that happens when we fail, but if we take the perspective on the failure of I'm the failure. And so every time something goes wrong, it's a reflection of I'm the failure. Once again, I failed. Oh, I failed again. That kind of, and we are basically feeding our brain this narrative that it just reinforces again and again and again chemically.
Yeah. Well, and basically science likes to call that the error-related negativity, which I like to call the oops.
Yeah.
Oops alarm. It's like, oh, crap.
There's a lot of oopses.
It's like, oops alarm. Well, and studies have shown that if you have a large ERN versus a small ERN, and that's basically your brain is better at recognizing errors and understanding them and comprehending them. It's really interesting that you'll see people that work in high stress jobs, when I was researching this, and do have a higher error recognition. Wow, I'm having a hard time with words today.
Recognition.
Yeah. Sorry, everyone.
That's all right. I got
marbles in my mouth today. So a lot of it is over time. If you have a lower level, then a lot of those errors can easily just pass you by, or you don't recognize it, or you don't care, kind of thing. And I don't know if that's been like some of that's self-taught, if it's just like toys we played with, if it's video games that helped recognize that. I'd love to actually dive into that more on my private time.
The video games?
No, just like actually what helps build that kind of thing. And so it is interesting to find that it was like surgeons have a really high ERN kind of thing, and like healthcare workers. And I can actually testify, like I've noticed just being as a nurse, the nurses and doctors that recognize things faster than others.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where the whole rapid response thing came into play, that most patients that they'll start to trend to go to pass away within 6 to 8 hours before they actually code. And that's what the rapid response is basically recognizing those alarms.
Yeah.
And someone that has a high ERN tends to recognize those way sooner, and that patient never goes there. So a lot of times I talked to a lot of seasoned nurses. It was really interesting to hear one's like, I've never had a code blue in my whole career. And they're like, wow, you must be a really good nurse. It's like, well, yeah, that, or I am very aware and I recognize things super early.
Hypervigilant.
And I give a shit.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
Well, and there's a kind of a default training that occurs in the medical industry, of course, that and police and fire, where it's you start noticing those clues, those cues that show that this is a likely situation. When people talk about their gut instinct, well, their gut instinct is kind of like their radar, so to speak, is finely tuned enough to where they pick up on those nuanced things that indicate these common outcomes. In the military, they train you for that.
Yeah.
And one of the downsides, and this is why I have most of my clients are men. A lot of those men are first responders or veterans. And one of the things that I am working on, that I work on clients with, is just normalizing that feeling, because it becomes this anxiety. The anxiety gets fed because we have these situations where it is real. I mean, it's like New Year's. When we came out of that club. Was it you or Sydney that said, "Oh, fireworks"? I'm like, "That's not fireworks.
Yeah, that's someone shooting guns."
It was gunshots.
She's
like,
like,
yeah, and
let's go.
It's like I immediately recognized that, and I've heard that. Like, there was one time I was coming out of the VA hospital here in Kansas City, and there were like 3 shots, and the guy was like, "Oh yeah, somebody's shooting a gun." I was like, "Yep, but that's a rifle."
Yeah,
because you can recognize the difference, and it's, to most people, it's just a bang, right?
Yeah.
Well, the pitch tells you the probable caliber and all that kind of stuff. And so it's this training process that we attune to these scenarios and these situations that we respond well to in a situation like nursing and somebody's health and that kind of thing. But we do that in relationships too.
Yep.
Where something happens that reminds us of past experiences that were painful or negative, and we start associating that painful negative experience in the past to the situation right now.
Yeah, and it really takes a strong, it's like self-awareness to understand. If you've taken that time to recognize those triggers, those are basically, then you can actually say, you didn't trigger me, I triggered myself based on the situation.
Yeah.
And I think that's the flip of it, is a lot of people want to say, you triggered me. And blame that other person for triggering them.
Yeah.
When they probably didn't fucking know what you were being triggered by. And so really
they're just being themselves. It's like there's early in my second marriage, we were pulling into the Walmart parking lot because I'm broke, and so everybody that's broke goes to Walmart. But my second wife and I were driving in, and we were having an argument, and she said something that reminded me of the way that my first wife would talk to me towards the end of the marriage. And she had come to a stop sign. I got out of the car, slammed the door, and I walked 2.5 miles home. I was so pissed off.
And you never got your Oreos?
No, not that time. She stayed in a hotel that night. She thought the marriage was over.
Oh, dang.
This is like in the first year.
Yeah.
And so the next day we talked, and I had taken the time to think through it. And why did I react that way? The walk home was me, one, burning through the anger, the response, right?
Yeah.
taking that break, but I didn't tell her that I needed that. But that next day when we talked about it, I said, when you said this thing, it reminded me of the way that my first wife would talk to me, and I got into that place. That's my fault.
Yeah.
And so I'm really sorry, that kind of thing. But there's a step beyond just the recognizing I got triggered. It's not, you didn't trigger me. I got triggered because, it's recognizing that one, it's our trauma,
our demons,
our past, right? But even in acknowledging that we're the ones getting triggered, and we've talked about this.
Yeah.
Just because I'm acknowledging that it's my trigger doesn't mean we're not still also making them feel a little bit guilty. Because if our partner cares about us or we care about them, then we don't want to trigger them.
Yeah, right.
But if the same situation keeps coming up and we keep on saying, it's not you, it's me, I'm the one that got triggered, it's not your fault, that kind of stuff, we're still drawing attention to the thing that caused the trigger, and it creates a different cycle, but it's still a loop. Yeah. Different. It's still a cycle. And so instead of like feeling like we have to explain it fully, because we don't, we can also sit there and say, hey, I need to process just a minute. I love you. I care about you. You didn't do anything wrong. I'm reacting, and I need to take care of me for a second, and then I'll come back and we can keep talking.
Yeah, and that goes down to that healthy communication to help your partner understand that. And I think the couples that do that so well,
they talk about it when it's not in the moment. Yeah. They talk about it when things are good. Like, hey, when this happens, I'm really sorry when that does. I'm working on it. But the couples that really succeed well in communication, they're not talking about it when the things happen. They talk about it when it's not happening, so that there's understanding, so that the next time it does happen, then the partner can go, oh yeah, I recognize this. They talked about this. All right, what do you need?
Yeah.
Instead of, oh crap, I triggered them again, or what did I do wrong? It's, okay, I recognize this pattern. I recognize what's going on. They can even reassure, like if they recognize there's a trigger, it can be something like, hey, I'm sorry I triggered you. I love you. It's not, this is not what you're thinking is not what I'm feeling. Yeah. But if you need time, let me know what you need and let's talk about it.
Well, I think that kind of leads into our third segment of building that resilience muscle, learning to recognize those errors and the triggers and things like that you can communicate healthy with your partner, and kind of going from there. So kind of break that down a little bit for us.
So when it comes to the resilience part, the first part of developing resilience is to recognize the pattern, to acknowledge it for ourselves, that radical self-awareness, that kind of process. But then what? Everybody stops there.
Yeah. You're like, cool, I got it.
Yeah.
Step one complete.
I when I work with couples, in fact, there's a couple that I work with that I've been working with for quite some time, and they're in that phase of recognizing when each other gets triggered and recognizing that they need to work on that. But it's like, okay, what do you do after that? Are you actually working on your shit?
Yeah.
On your own shit, because my trauma, my experiences, my failures, all those things, all those experiences, those are mine. They are not hers.
Yeah.
It's not her job to fix me. It's not my job to fix her. I can support her in fixing her, and she can support me in fixing me, but I can't fix another person.
Yeah, it's like Teddy Bridgewater said, backup quarterback. It's like, you're not a mechanic. You don't need to fix her.
Yeah, right. But like I tell just about every single client in my first session, I tell them, I can't fix you. That's not my job. My job is to help you fix you.
Yeah.
And so that becomes the biggest part of building resilience, is that it becomes that process. We recognize our triggers. We recognize where it comes from. We recognize what it feels. We know that we need to change it. Then actually taking the steps to change it. It doesn't work well in the beginning because it's new, right?
Yeah.
Resilience is not all of a sudden a thing,
which a lot of people want.
We all want it.
you want to go there and be like, hey, slap some duct tape on it, duck.
Yeah, but like even like this podcast, I in the very beginning, I think I told you about this. This is way back when we first started. I think right before we launched, we had talked about sitting down and talking through a couple of things on a Sunday afternoon, and we had talked about a time, and so. I headed down to your place, knocked on your door, and you and Cindy were home.
Yeah, I forgot.
And I called up. No. I hadn't texted you that I was heading down.
Yeah.
You know, so I didn't let you know or confirm that, yep, I'm on my way or I'm heading down there today, that kind of thing. I just showed up. We had talked about the time, but I hadn't confirmed the time.
Right.
And so it's kind of a miscommunication on both our parts. But on my way home, I was like, this is another failure. You know, I thought you weren't taking it seriously. And I was like, but you know, I was thinking through all of the things that were going wrong and all the things that were going to fail. And it's just another failure, whatever. Right.
Yeah, and here we are, season 2.
Yeah, right.
Got our beautiful studio even more done. Good job, James. Yeah. I mean, it looks amazing.
And so I was at that, what is it, the Ferris wheel thing?
Yeah.
That's downtown.
Yeah, it's called a Ferris wheel.
Yeah, that thing. Well, it's got the encapsulated one, so it's not like the fair wheel thing. Anyway, but I was coming under the bridge where Southwest Parkway goes over I-35.
You know, that's illegal, right?
To go under the bridge?
To come under the bridge.
Oh, gosh.
Sorry.
So juvenile. All right.
Sorry.
Continuing.
Trying to derail you. Sorry.
No, but I was coming under there, and now it's on my mind. Fuck you. So I was driving under that bridge, and I, you know, as a therapist, one of the things that I talk about with a lot of clients is the cognitive distortions.
Yeah.
And I was catastrophizing.
Yeah.
And I remember saying out loud in my car, I was like, James, shut up. You're catastrophizing. It's fine. You don't, you know, so I was challenging the narrative that was in my head. Well, that was just one incident, one occasion.
But that's how you build that resilience.
Right.
You challenge it. You know, like when you start having negative self-talk, you have to take a step back and go, nope. I'm overreacting. My anxiety's kicking in, whatever trigger it is. Like if you take the time to stop and recognize that, you do start building that ERN to be stronger.
Yeah.
And so you get it to be more recognizing. So you start recognizing, oh crap, I'm being triggered by this event. Take a step back. Like you got out of the car because you didn't want this big blown up argument. So you got out of the car, walked, cooled off, thought about it more, kind of thing. And it just takes that time. And I do find that the people that master this at a younger age, I think are probably the ones that are very successful in general. I mean,
as a dad, I try to help my kids master this sooner than I did.
Which every parent tries, you know, they want their kid to do better. They want to.
I'm a little biased. I think dads are a little bit more so.
Yeah. I mean,
but that's just because I'm a dad.
Well, you know, we are two Gen X dads.
Yeah, right.
Kind of thing.
No, but the thing is here's where the real benefit really comes in, because of those past experiences, because of those traumas. Sometimes they're
Chinese cheese.
Sometimes it's valid. But because of those experiences, those negative experiences, those repeated failures that we have in the past, if we take the right perspective on it and look at them as opportunities to compare something new, or because we've gone through this, we now know that we can survive, that we can overcome, that we can, you know, going through the first divorce, which was chaotic and devastating, and then having been bankrupt and having been in the military and having, you know, deployed and all this other stuff and having injuries. Personally, it's like I've come through a lot.
Yeah, it piles on. I mean,
and it's a reflection of a recognition of the strength that's been developed.
Yeah.
You know, I'd love to have felt the strength when I started. That's not how it works. But it's that it creates a perspective that now I can sit here and say, you know what, I've survived a lot. I've successfully made it through a lot. And sometimes just surviving the trial is the success.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the next time there's a challenge, it's like, I can do this.
Well, and I think for me, like the relationship wise, work wise, stuff like that, I think after my second one, that one hit me pretty hard, you know, because I felt like I had worked 10 times harder. I had gone through this growth, really, okay, this is what I did wrong. This is what I don't want to happen again. You know, I got too much into I want to control everything phase. Now, I wasn't controlling her or anything like that. It's just I was trying to
control the situations.
In my mind, I painted this canvas, you know, this Norman Rockwell canvas that what a family should be and act and all that stuff because I wanted it so bad.
Yeah.
And I already felt like I failed originally, and I was trying to get that combined family. And so when it was all ruse and fake, it really hit me hard because it's like, man, I busted my ass. But I wouldn't have, and it I don't say it broke, yeah, it did broke me for a little bit. But if I stayed in that horrible place and just focused on the negative and became the victim and just gave in to addiction or whatever that people can go down to, my life would not be where I am now. I wouldn't be doing a podcast. I wouldn't have never met Sydney. I never would have had the job I have. I wouldn't have had my friends. I wouldn't be here if I didn't do that self-reflection, start building that resilience, because it helped me learn to be a better fucking person, and be better. I'd be a better husband, better father, and be better to myself, kind of thing.
And here's one of the really cool things that can happen if we let it, about opposition or challenges or failures or whatever term you want to use for whatever the situation is, right? And this is where, when I talk about being envious of your relationship, this is the perspective that I have. You've been through a whole lot.
Yeah.
I've been through a whole lot. And I see the dynamic that the two of you have. And there's a value and an appreciation for how good she is to you and how good you are to her. And so it's because of those past experiences, we can gain more appreciation for what actually is, instead of the fantasy of what we're trying to create. Yeah. And that's, I think, becomes so much more valuable and fulfilling in a relationship, because then it's not just the, I got somebody who loves me and cares about me, that kind of thing. But it's like, because I've been hurt, because I've been rejected, because I've been, ridiculed and whatever, having somebody who values me for me, which is what I'm looking for, not actively, but I'm looking for it. But like having that dynamic, that's what I'm looking for, is somebody who actually recognizes me, loves me in spite of my flaws.
Yeah.
And that I can do that for them too, so that we actually appreciate that in one another, instead of just the exciting parts of relationships, instead of just the attraction, instead of just the sex, instead of just the whatever. It's that fulfilling. And I have an aunt that she and her husband are on their third marriage. My parents have told me a little bit about, where they went into the marriage where they're recognizing what their stuff is, that radical reflection, right? The self-awareness. They are recognizing the loop that put them in from the past relationships, and they are actively working on building resilience in their relationship.
Yeah.
And that's awesome. I think it's huge, and so few people actually do that, because we don't want to take responsibility for our own stuff.
Well, yeah, I think the great thing is you really do, when you do those things, it just builds the relationship even stronger. And I don't think I could ever express how much I do care for her and for Sydney, and how much I've grown, and just how awesome this is. I've gone from a place of originally back then, I was trying to paint the canvas, or I guess buy the canvas of what I wanted my life to look like.
Right.
And now I'm actually painting it with her. And it's like, let's use blue, let's use green, let's use hot pink. I'm like, I really don't like hot pink, but yeah, it looks really good with the blue. I'm like, okay.
Well, it's kind of like, you're right. When I was painting and building all of this stuff for the new studio, these aren't colors that I would have chosen, but you guys liked them.
Yeah.
You're the one that picked the colors.
He did a good job.
Yeah, he did a really good job.
You did a good job.
With it all come together, it actually looks really good. I like it. Initially, I was like, it's but it kind of like in past experiences in relationships, like you were saying, painting the picture of like, I don't know about the hot pink. That may be because past relationships, somebody was like, I want hot pink, and you're like, you're associating that,
that color,
the idea of the color in the painting with the emotional connection to the failed relationship in the past and the hurt and the pain and all that kind of stuff, rather than, oh, she likes hot pink. Am I okay with hot pink? That self-reflection, that self-analysis, and then being okay with that hot pink becomes the resilience of, this is okay. Yeah. I'm okay.
It's probably how I feel about KU.
Let's hear it.
I just had so many bad experiences with people that liked KU that it got to me the point where I'm like, I can't stand, screw KU kind of stuff, because of the people that branded it.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people say that about Cubs fans, but with her, it's like she still supports my teams. She still will watch my team. She's like, let's go to K-State KU game. I don't care who wins. It's still fun. It's with you.
Yeah.
So it went away from my team's better than yours. It's let's go do this stuff together. Let's experience these things together. And so she rewrote the narrative. And so I don't hate KU anymore. It's like I can watch them. I don't mind that kind of stuff. And so that's like the best example I can give, like when it came to that.
What's the best one?
It's just the easiest one next to the painting.
There's so many other examples. No, but it's a great description though of like changing that narrative, changing that feedback loop that we give ourselves, that negativity of recognizing what is rather than using the lens of our past to look at what is.
Yeah, that's pretty much the takeaway.
Yeah, and so shifting from the idea of I'm a failure to I'm growing and I'm not perfect, and that's okay. That is just fine.
Yeah, I think for our listeners, when you do fail at something, take that time to write it down. What went wrong? What could you have done differently? And if you don't know, that's where talking to somebody that's an expert, and it comes to
expert, but I'm a therapist. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so it's like if you're having relationship issues, then you talk to somebody that specializes in relationship. If you're not able to work with that, if it's finances, then you talk to someone that's good at finances to kind of help educate you, to help you build that resilience muscle.
Yeah. Honestly, a lot of what I do as a therapist is I help reflect back to people what they're expressing, what they're thinking, what they're feeling in a different perspective, so that they can then kind of self-analyze and reflect on how they actually feel. It's amazing how many changes happen.
Yeah. It's so much nicer. Like you feel much happier and fulfilled. I mean, the people that just live in misery and hating things, it just blows my mind.
Yeah.
But anyway, hey, thanks for joining us this week, guys.
Yeah.
Hope you learned something about your brain.
You're not a failure. It's like Stuart Smalley. I'm good enough. I'm strong enough, and doggone it, people like me.
You're not a failure. You just really suck.
Yeah, James is.
Whoa.
Not a failure.
We just did an episode.
He didn't let me finish. Not a failure. There's a pause for dramatic effect.
All right, guys. Thanks for stopping by. Stay classy, Kansas City.